In 2013, a man named Ted Hallows made a decision that fundamentally changed how the world viewed remote mountain ranges. He bolted a GoPro camera to the belly of a light aircraft. This seemingly harmless act inadvertently unveiled a massive operation that the government had been quietly coordinating for decades, entirely out of the public eye. The footage went viral almost instantly, mesmerizing millions of viewers. The rare clip captured a breathtaking scene as a single-engine Cessna skimmed at a dizzying altitude, a mere 100 feet above the highest lakes in Utah. In the very next moment, thousands of living creatures plummeted into the vast expanse of open air like a torrential storm. These tiny lives simply free fell through the high-altitude winds, lacking parachutes or any protective containers. Most remarkably, despite what seemed like a fatal drop, over 95% of the fingerlings survived completely unscathed, swimming away the moment they struck the water. Millions of spectators hailed this rain of fish as a miracle of engineering, the most brilliantly accidental government operation ever caught on film. Yet, beneath the awe and public excitement, that viral video unknowingly obscured a deeply mysterious blind spot. A quiet truth lay buried at the bottom of those crystal-clear lakes. Were those pristine waters, isolated atop peaks perpetually shrouded in mist, truly an empty, lifeless void before this storm of fish rained down? Following the end of the war, America underwent a profound transformation as millions of veterans returned home. New highways stretched outward, carving through the deserts and unlocking the untamed wilderness of the West. Finding themselves suddenly flush with both time and money, Americans sparked an explosion in recreational fishing, transforming the pastime into a massive, multi-million-dollar industry by the early 1950s. Desperate to feed this insatiable appetite for recreation, states engaged in a frantic race to open up new waters and stock them with fish. Utah, however, found itself up against a daunting geographical barrier, one formidable enough to crush any human attempt at conquest. Tucked away within this unforgiving landscape lay the Uinta Mountains, guarding over 650 silent lakes perched at staggering elevations above 9,000 feet. These high alpine jewels were masterpieces carved straight out of granite by ancient glaciers. And this is the crucial fact upon which the entire history turns. For 10,000 grueling years, every single one of these lakes remained completely devoid of fish. It wasn't because the water was toxic, but because towering 40-foot natural waterfalls sealed off every route, violently dashing the upstream hopes of anything with fins. The initial efforts to shatter this natural isolation were profoundly primitive and brutal. Thousands of fingerlings were crammed into metal milk cans, standing 3 feet tall with one side pressed deliberately flat to ride snug against the ribs of pack mules. The caravan of men and beasts would set out at the break of dawn, pushing themselves to the absolute brink of exhaustion as they climbed thousands of feet up treacherous granite switchbacks. The entire operation was a high-stakes gamble on the endurance of muscle and bone, for a single stumble by a mule on a sheer cliff edge meant thousands of fragile lives spilling out to perish in the dirt. Faced with more than 650 lakes demanding to be stocked and a fleeting 3-month window of open summer to reach them, the agonizing math of this supply chain quickly proved impossible. Around 1956, a turning point emerged when Utah decided to adopt an unimaginable tactic from California, using a light Cessna aircraft to drop live fish from the sky. The secret to this miracle lay within the laws of physics themselves. The fingerlings weighed so little that air resistance naturally slowed their descent, allowing them to flutter down like autumn leaves. Combined with a simultaneous burst of water that created a hydraulic cushion, the fish easily broke the surface tension, miraculously surviving as they struck the lake below. In a single sortie, without ever needing to land, This aircraft could scatter over 10,000 lives across 7 entirely distinct bodies of water. Astonishingly, this massive campaign, one that effectively reshaped an entire geographical region, was entirely self-funded, sustained purely by excise taxes on fishing gear and the sale of fishing licenses. Yet, as this grand curtain is pulled back, we are forced to confront a haunting dilemma regarding humanity meddling too deeply with the natural order. Faced with this reality, would you choose to keep dropping sterile fish to protect a proud 70-year American fishing tradition? Or would you strip it all away to return every high alpine lake to the exact, silent state the glaciers left behind? I genuinely want to know your answer to this difficult puzzle, so please leave your thoughts in the comments section right below this video. The brutal truth is that those high alpine waters were never empty, despite what humanity had convinced itself to believe. Through 10,000 years of absolute silence, they had quietly incubated invaluable, pristine ecosystems. This was a thriving kingdom of mountain yellow-legged frogs, salamanders lurking along the banks, and countless zooplankton and insects flourishing in the water. But then, finned invaders fell from the sky. Trout are highly acute visual predators. Thrust into an overwhelmingly peaceful environment where tadpoles and larvae possessed no instinct to hide from predators, the trout swiftly shredded that fragile ecological balance. The most heartbreaking indictment of this intervention became glaringly clear in California, where the once vast populations of mountain yellow-legged frogs were rapidly eradicated from more than 90% of their historical range. It turned out that the very airplanes tasked with sowing life, filling the West with millions of recreational fish, had quietly been extinguishing life and emptying out the most precious native legacies of the natural world. A fierce confrontation erupted between two fundamentally opposing perspectives. On one side, anglers staunchly defended a self-funded, 70-year-old legacy that granted them the invaluable privilege of experiencing the pristine wilderness. Conversely, biologists issued a chilling warning. We had blindly shredded the continent's last untouched ecosystems, devastating ancient species before science even had a chance to understand them. Confronting this fragile ecological fault line, wildlife agencies were compelled to quietly initiate a landmark reform. The core solution was a shift toward stocking a sterile breed of trout known as triploids. By subjecting the eggs to extreme pressure, these fish are stripped of their ability to reproduce, effectively preventing any catastrophic, uncontrollable spread. As an added bonus, redirecting the energy normally spent on spawning allows these fish to grow to an exceptionally massive size. Yet, the most miraculous resurrection occurred in the lakes where humanity decided to step back entirely. When scientists cast nets to completely eradicate the invasive predators, nature responded with astonishing speed. In a mere 2 to 5 years after the trout were removed, native amphibian populations rose from the brink and staged a truly spectacular recovery. The pioneers who birthed this campaign in 1956 were by no means villains. They were simply striving to solve a practical problem of their era through the extremely limited scientific lens of the time. Paradoxically, what is once hailed as humanity's most ingenious technical innovation can sometimes turn out to be the source of its greatest unintentional mistake. The belief that those remote high alpine waters were empty was, in the end, merely a story we told ourselves before we could truly grasp the profound diversity of nature. It inevitably takes decades of relentless science to lift the veil of truth, allowing us to recognize the deep consequences and find the balance needed to heal the wounds of the past. If you were captivated by the story of this bizarre reign of fish and the heartbreaking trade-offs of Mother Nature, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in our next video unraveling more mysteries.